Welcome back everyone to GGN. This is the third part for today for Tuesday, March 18th, 2014. This first article I have for you is titled Modern Society Pretty Much Doomed. This is a NASA study, but it says here, according to the study, modern societies will self-destruct in the vein of past empires because the 1% are consuming too much and we're bound to run out of resources. So it says that everyone's to blame. It says here that the elites will gobble up too many resources and idly ignore impending disaster. This is according to the Guardian. The study was done by a mathematician. It found that energy, agriculture, water, climate, and population have undermined past empires when resources ran thin, and society became overly stratified between the haves and the have-nots. Collapse is difficult to avoid in our society. So, like we mentioned this before, it's not something that we've really participated in. Participating means you have choices and stuff like that. We're just kind of indoctrinated that the society is the best that we can do. It says here, collapse is difficult to avoid in our society, probably because elites consume too much, and will create an inequality-induced famine. Technology won't save us either because it forces greater resource extraction and consumption. The only solutions is to distribute resources more fairly, use less intensive renewable resources, and reduce population growth. I think besides the other stuff like population growth and all this other stuff, how about we try to avoid becoming an empire? Speaking of elites, Bill Gates, people don't realize how many jobs will soon be replaced by software robots. He says, big changes are coming. He was speaking in Washington, D.C. at a think tank, the American Enterprise Institute, on Thursday. So, yeah, American Enterprise Institute. Gates said that within 20 years, a lot of jobs will go away, replaced by software automation. He called it software substitution, whether it's for drivers or waiters or nurses. It's progressing. Technology over time will reduce demand for jobs, particularly at the lower end of the skill set. 20 years from now, labor demand for lots of skill sets will be substantially lower. I don't think people will have that in their mental model. So, the one thing that the elites do like as far as population growth, like I said before, is it drives down wages. Makes us more desperate, more subservient, and more dependent on the empire. He's not the only one predicting this gloomy scenario for workers. In January, The Economist ran a big profile naming over a dozen jobs sure to be taken over by robots in the next 20 years, including telemarketers, accountants, and retail workers. So this is a good time to point this out. I think I actually mentioned this recently, which we will actually be heading in to, I don't want to say a stateless society, but a society with no government per se, a political government. And people will be like, well, that's anarchy. Well, some people may be like, well, that's good, right? And if you listen to Stefan Molyneux and stuff, it would be if it was brought about by individuals, by people, by communities. But it's not. It's going to be we're going to transform or transition into it because of corporations. They no longer need governments anymore. They've already been enriched by them enough. So and that's why you see a lot of the austerity, you see a lot of the scaling back of things. And then they get into taxes, right? Gates believes that the tax codes are going to need to change to encourage companies to hire employees, including perhaps eliminating income and payroll taxes altogether. So he's not a big fan of raising the minimum wage. Well, of course he's not, right? Fearing that it will discourage employers to hire workers in the very categories of jobs that are most threatened by automation. And for one, I understand that you don't want to see people be forced to increase wages. They can't hire as many people, but at the same time, this is a very exploitive system. So, they have U.S. companies stashing $1.9 trillion in profits overseas. U.S.-based companies keeping trillions in profits in low-tax offshore accounts. According to Bloomberg, they said Microsoft, Apple, and IBM are among the worst offenders of Mr. Gates' company. I saw a lower number than 1.9 trillion. It was like 200 billion, but we know what's happening, right? More hypocrisy from Warren Buffett as he structures the deal to avoid $400 million in taxes. It's funny how they started out, he epitomizes everything that is wrong with the global economy. Well, the global economy itself is wrong, so he's just a byproduct of it. So he publicly talks about how rich people need to pay more in taxes, then turns around and pioneers new ways for his company, Berkshire Hathaway, to avoid hundreds of millions in taxes. I thought they said this. He thinks that by going on TV, stuffing ice cream cones and hamburgers in his mouth and acting all grandfatherly, that no one will notice who he really is, and the incredible hypocrisy of his actions. 30,000 criminal referrals led to 1,000 plus felony convictions back in the savings and loan crisis, they say, but not even a single prosecution was done today, even though the 2008 crisis was 70 times bigger. It says the Office of Comptroller of Currency, which is supposed to regulate the largest national banks, has made 0 criminal referrals, and the Office of Thrift Supervision, supposed to regulate the largest makers of liar's loans in the country, has made 0 criminal referrals. The Fed has appeared to have made 0 criminal referrals. And the FDIC is smart enough to refuse to answer the question. In New York, an investment banker was found dead on a sidewalk outside an East Side apartment building March 18th, and another one bites the dust. 28-year-old Manhattan investment banker died after an apparent suicide. Kenneth Bellando worked for Levy Capital since January, allegedly jumping from the 6th-story roof. He's a former bank analyst at J.P. Morgan. So this was just after this, from March 12th. Trader kills himself in the finance world's latest suicide. So, these people have a guilty conscience, or are they just desperate? They owe too much. They're too invested in the system, and they're getting cut loose. I think that's maybe what's happening. There's more income inequality. The elites are consolidating all the wealth, and these people are no longer needed anymore. This right here, this article from Washington Blog. No, millions of Americans have not dropped out of the labor force just because they're retiring baby boomers. So they're saying that the civilian labor force dropped from 155.3 million to 154.9, which means labor participation rate just dropped to a 35-year low not seen since 1978 at 62.8%, down from 63%. So, and there's like a little chart of it starting back from 78. This is what, mid-90s, 2000s, and then going down, down, down. So, but they're saying that it's actually due to people retiring, not discouraged workers. If this is true, then I guess, whatever, right? If Bill Gates says what he's saying, then we're no longer really needed as much anymore. But if people aren't able to work and pay taxes to pay off back loans or pay off back debts so that they can get their Social Security checks, then they're going to have to keep working, right? They're going to have to work. Many delay retiring, need more money, enjoy their jobs. Again, good for lowering wages in the workplace, right? When you're working until you're 60 and older, 58% are currently delaying retirement, mostly for financial reasons. That's right. That's an older article. This is new, March 17th. U.S. retirees return to reverse mortgages. That's great, right? Reverse mortgages. U.S. baby boomers desperate for retirement income are increasingly turning back to a financial product that, after the housing bust, had been left for dead. So they haven't saved enough to cover expenses for the rest of their lives. So, not exactly true. They probably did. It's just that many people's pensions or 401ks or something like that were basically obliterated during 2008. 0 fraud convictions, right? People jumping off buildings in front of trains. Someone's getting rich. It's kind of just an evil thing, man, when you think about a reverse mortgage. But many of them have one major asset, a home. A reverse mortgage allows them to borrow against that, and they don't have to make any payments on the loan until they move or die. And who really cares, right? Because, they'll just have a taxpayer bailout, so, right? Warren Buffett will cover it. All right, moving on here. Unskilled and destitute are hiring targets for Fukushima cleanup. So if you are out of work, maybe you want to hop on a boat and head over to Japan. So, yep. I covered this before, actually, from, January. Japan's homeless. They're recruiting the homeless for cleaning up Fukushima's nuclear plant. So it's all about teamwork, guys, right? We're global citizens in the global community. This is the world's toughest demolition project. They're actually calling on robots, too, taking apart the shattered power station as 3 melted nuclear cores will require advanced robots. Out of work, nowhere to live, nowhere to go, nothing to eat. The online advertisement reads, "Come to Fukushima." So it's a grim posting targeting the destitute by companies seeking laborers to work for the Daiichi nuclear plant. Wireless electricity, it's perfectly safe, they say. So at Cryptagon, they say, no, thank you. Don't worry about getting zapped. They assure that the magnetic fields used to transfer energy are perfectly safe. In fact, they're the same kind of fields used in Wi-Fi routers, so that makes me feel comfortable. Hell no, it doesn't. That's why I don't want Wi-Fi. That's why I don't have it. Try to get just wires. Even that, I mean, there's still stuff coming off it, but it's better. In the house of the future, wireless or wire-free energy transfer could be as easy as wireless internet. If all goes as planned, smartphones will charge in your pocket as you wander around. Televisions will flicker with no wires attached, and electric cars will refuel while sitting on the driveway. Again, this will still be monopolized. This will still not be coming from someone that made it in their basement for the community for free. And they won't give a crap about whether it's safe for you. So all these frequencies and radiation will be pulsing around, right? It'll be even better because we don't have enough with the Wi-Fi and the cell towers and the cell phones. While we're at it, from March 17th, the U.S. Navy is revealing a plot to beam power from space using giant orbiting solar panels that capture power in space and beam to Earth. So it could be assembled by robots in orbit. Nice. Could power military installations and even cities. Would be 9 times larger than the International Space Station. So if we go back to the doom and gloom of society breaking down, hey, what better than to use all this technology that could have technically been used before, instead of being relied on oil, which boosts and props up the petrodollars, or world reserve currency. No, they're going to wait till everything goes, everything crashes, and they'll roll out with all this, Tesla stuff. Solar panels, and it'll all be run by the military. They'll have all this stuff probably already set up. And the Black World said, "Let there be light." PG&E agreed to buy orbit-generated electricity from solar in 2016. So large satellites will beam vast amounts of clean energy from the sun to the Earth 24/7. So said the idea isn't quite as old as the hills, but at least several decades ago, depending on what you consider the origin. Isaac Asimov wrote about it in 1941. In a science fiction book called Reason, about a space station that collects solar energy and beams it to Earth. And I think they've been beaming us, pulsing us real hard lately here in the Midwest. I don't know. I've had a headache today, just kind of crept on with other ailments that creep on, and I haven't had that in a while. So, it doesn't mean that it's that, but usually it does. U.S. to relinquish remaining control over the internet. So we're talking about no more government, right? U.S. officials announced plans Friday to relinquish federal government control over the administration of the internet. So it would end a long-running contract between the Commerce Department and the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, a California-based non-profit group. Maybe the AI's in control of it now. A tale of two internets. So it says it sounds like U.S. politics, a world where you think you are making choices, but in reality your options are narrowed and refined until you're left with merely the illusion of control. Scientific American, imagine an internet where unseen hands curate your entire experience, where third parties determine or predetermine news, products, and prices, even the people you meet. A world where you think you are making choices, but in reality your options are narrowed and refined until you are left with merely the illusion of control. It's not far from happening thanks to technology that enables Google, Facebook, and others to gather info about us and use it to tailor user experience to our own personal tastes, habits, income. It says the internet has become a different place for the rich and the poor, and that most of us become unwitting actors in an unfolding drama about the tale of two internets. There is yours and mine, theirs and ours. Yeah, and that's kind of like when we start talking about where these elites are going to become gods. They're going to get transhumanized, right? Get rid of their bodies. Hooked up to the AI, who will give them everything that they want or need. Like the top transhumanist CEO admitting that AI Singularity will go very badly for humans. Not only is research on AI outpacing safety research to keep it in check, but that Singularity would actually make humans the prey of sorts to the superhuman AI. The AI would end up optimizing the entire globe and starving resources from humans. The professor says drones will cause an upheaval of society like we haven't seen in 700 years. As we've been living in the era or age of the gun, but sometimes in the near future the autonomous weaponized drone may replace human infantry as the dominant battlefield technology. He believes that it will cause a huge social upheaval. This is GGN. Thank you.